So we are working on segmentation, and it is a very important first step of any further analysis in digital physics. It basically identifies what are we working with. At the very base, we want to count different populations that we have in image. And in petrophysics, that often means quantifying porosity. Or if I have multiple fluids, then possibly fluid saturation. If I'm more on the solid size or mineralogy, I might want to, and I can actually distinguish different mineral groups within my image, then I might want to look at the fractions of those inside my image, as well as what is their spatial configuration. I like using the word spatial configuration for arrangements of things in 3D, specifically in 3D, because specifically in 3D, those things have a major influence on any other transport property you're trying to measure. So just saying that you have 20% of image populated by water means nothing if that water is not connected. So somewhere there's a little cave inside your sample, and it's filled by water without connecting to the outside. Well, you're not going to measure any response to that water, whether you're looking at the pressure or its flow, or you're looking at electrical properties. Okay? So in essence, we do need to know where those, what is the spatial configuration of our phases? So, and that requires identifying them in the first place. Okay? So segmentation, in its nutshell, the way we introduced it, kind of like sorts things into black and white phase, 0 and 1, however you want to call those phases, and they have some physical meaning. And that assumes that you know that there are 2 phases within. If there are more, often you can apply the steps. So you kind of basically find one of them that you know very well as the first one. And then you keep kind of selecting from the rest of the voxels, you keep selecting further the phases. So that's always possible. However, if you have more than 3 phases, it's pretty tedious task. So statistical region merging is one of those methods where possibly the number of phases could actually just show up by itself. And this is where it's valuable. It's been used widely in analysis of photographs. So for instance, the image that let me just select full mode. The image that you see here is a standard photograph, and you're trying to identify objects or parts of the objects that are in this image. So that is what segmentation often means in the realm of photography. For us, it's more sort of there are certain physical properties of each of these, and they're more spatially variable. So the idea, though, is the same regardless of what type of image you're analyzing. Trying to iteratively merge locations based on the neighboring grayscale values. So it's kind of a local method. And it's trying to distance those groups of voxels as much as possible. So one example is if I have numbers such as 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, then I have 3.2, then I have 4.9, 5.1, 5.3, 5.6. And let's say my distance is 0.3, then these colors basically have grouped these numbers together so that they're at least 0.3 apart from each other. That's easily sometimes said and done, especially if you have a continuous switch, a continuous spectrum of values or histogram of values. And often we know that that's part of the problem in, for instance, X-rays, that near the edge you're going to actually have smearing that goes continuously between 2 values. So that's, of course, the noise in the image will influence this. But as long as this is consistently done, it actually can work pretty effectively. The method is widely implemented. We're going to test it in ImageJ. It does exist in MATLAB. Most likely than not, there are some C codes if you need speed available, and the basic paper is linked here. So let's try it out on the image that we know. So let's open first that. I did that in front of you, but I want you to use it now. And before trying it out myself, give it a shot. So open the Benheimer image. And this Q number of values is sort of a number of target values. So it's going to keep iterating until that's done. Since it's an optimization algorithm, it doesn't have a single outcome ever, and a starting point does influence the outcome. Over the number of tryouts, I've had one of my graduate students use this extensively for carbonates, specifically because in carbonates, you don't always know how many mineral faces you have, or different microporous faces, and we didn't want to influence the software by pretending we know, because we didn't know. So, in that sense, he was analyzing a lot of carbonates from a specific reservoir, and it would go up to as many as 14 groups of voxels, with the understanding that they don't always have the same mineralogy. But as far as CT goes, we were able to group them. And this is what we found. If you have a simple image, so let's say that we work with that little rice image that we played with, there's always two phases, and we can check that. We can try out this algorithm, and also how sensitive it is actually to the local contrast of that image. But the second part is that we found that it's actually the best to start with a pretty large number, way larger than you actually hope to find, and then reduce it. So run it, so say with 100, Q is 100, and then on that image, run it with Q is 50, and keep reducing until you kind of have a grouping. So if you do kind of try to merge things too fast, they might not merge the way you want, especially since you don't always know what the separation between phases should be. So in this case, actually 25 as a starting point is not a bad idea. Let me open up this image. I think I have ImageJ open already. Import raw. My favorite friend Benheimer. Okay. And let's test whether I can spell statistical. Oh, it does require, as it tells you, 8-bit image. So this is where you convert this to 8-bit. And we've been having extensive discussions whether 16-bit or 8-bit matters. That's something to be confirmed. I have most of the time found this. If you have sufficient contrast in your image between the phases of the 16-bit and 8-bit does not matter. To the extent that you can see, and I'm touching my glasses, I don't see very well, okay? But often you're looking for the visual confirmation, and it's your visual confirmation that this is likely clay. If this is the only thing you're looking at, this image, it's also the only information you have. So in that sense, then trying to distinguish whether a 16-bit versus 8-bit image converted from 16-bit actually influences segmentation of the image in a major way, it's hard to test. Unless you have some other evidence, so if I have a matching SEM image that can really not only tell me that this is clay, but also look into which type of clay, right? And what could be the microporosity in it. Then I can have more information that I could work with. So that's that. I can't really tell you based on just soil on the image whether having 16-bit or 8-bit matters. Here we have no choice because the algorithm works with 8-bit, and that's partly because it takes a moment to run. 200 cube is not large, but on anything larger, it's going to struggle a little bit. All right, so now that I have 8-bit, I'm going to run it, and I'm going to go with default. I'm thinking I have 3 phases. So I'm going to assume that 25 is a good starting point, and then I'm going to go down. And when I do that, I get this image. So let's go to 100. So we have definitely gotten distinguishing of these phases that is pretty good. I can see that I have picked up, there is some mineral here. Okay. That is much denser. Okay. And that got picked up by this, as well as some of them that it appears to be here on the fridges with this color. And then this clay is distinguished. Possibly I even see multiple levels of gray. Here is where I'm not sure that here on the boundary I really have another phase. You see that? So that is artificial due to the fact that I will have a change in values between solid and smear, sort of in between solid and pore space. Okay? So some of these things, so algorithm sees what it sees. It just sees the curves. It doesn't know that here near the boundary we might have a point spread. Then we do need to have, so the user does need to have some influence here and then try to merge different phases further. Now what's pretty cool to me is when I do a histogram of this image, the result, not particles, analyze. We're going to get to analyzing particles right now. Histogram. Okay. It is pretty clear to me that I have, well, about 5 groups here. But really, I can, after looking the image, I can, all of these mineral phases, I'm going to identify as solids because they are solid. This in-between group, I'm going to identify as some sort of microporous clay, okay, which is why it's in between. And all of these groups, and there is very little of something here, and even less of something else sitting here in the histogram. Okay. I'm going to merge all of those as pore space. And I'm going to be really happy with that. Then basically, I look at this and I say, okay, I can easily group this based on what it is that I'm interested in. If I'm not interested in any kind of reactive flow, then having some other mineral phase doesn't really matter. To me, it's solid for all my intensive purposes. So the point that I'm making here, this long elaboration, is that you have to kind of know what you're looking for. There's no one size fit in this particular case. Okay. Now, so again, and we can just then segment this image the way we would. I'm not going to proceed to do that, but basically you can then identify clay if you'd like, or you can decide, okay, clay is solid phase, okay? And then just put the threshold in between this and that, okay? So basically, if I'm just interested in saying clay is solid, then I'm gonna threshold this image anywhere here. 100 will do, value of 100. And then I'm gonna get this as one phase and this as the other. Okay? All right. So again, based on what you're doing, you have to adjust the way you segment. All right. Now we're gonna try something more complex, and this is a little bit of a struggle. Pull up, there's image called crop068.jpg. So you can drop it on image J or open it up. And this image looks relatively small. I'm going to say it's deceptively small. It's actually a pretty large image, about 1800 by 1800. But on the first look, it looks pretty clean. The beads are really nice and round. Our eyes are happy. This looks pretty. I do have actually something else going on. I have some microporosity, which is injected beads. So this is a sample that was exposed to a particulate flood of particles that are at least 20 to 40 times smaller. And then it was dried, and you're looking at the results. So part of the drying process has drawn these particles into kind of areas in between. As you pull out water by the drying, and then you kind of shrink into areas that are close to the grains. So possibly there was more filling of the pore spaces. We don't know that after drying things out. This is extremely simple. So anyway, I want to identify. This is my microporosity. It's clear microporosity. I have a clear. Let's say that this was regular flood. I would have a clear interest in figuring out where the damage happened. But the problem with this. Look at this shading here. It doesn't look much. This is actually beam hardening that wasn't corrected by hardware. And the best to correct it is best if beam hardening is corrected on the spot via hardware, but this wasn't done. So try thresholding this image. Or first look at the histogram and then try thresholding. As you threshold, you will see how the beads on the sides are much kind of light colored. But as you move the thresholds, then you're going to see misidentification of pore space versus beads, right? See that it looks like it's solidified at the edges, and it's not. So if you try statistical region merging, but it is suggested approach. this is sort of the result. And my eyes in this histogram see two groups, but I want three. So my micropore space, so try further thresholding to see what you get. Basically, it appears that micropore space is lost in the process. And here I'm getting that my microporosity and my beads are kind of a very similar shape, if that's dangerous. So again, try a number of these Qs. Here are some examples of 2, 5, 25. This is my comparison of histograms for different Qs. And I convinced myself, and I love it because again, you don't have hard truths to go, is that if I take first 25, then I process that image, I convert it to 8-bit and process it to 10. So still a much slower approach to go from 25 to 10 to 5, I get a pretty good way to isolate my microporosity. What I wanted to do is to compare kind of results for just like taking one shot and see whether you can group things to isolate microporosity. And this, or possibly find something better. Okay. So can you take about 10 minutes to struggle with that? So that's number one. Assignment number one is play with just a single shot of taking Q25 or 10 or 3 or whatever. We need 3, right? And see what you get, and whether can you isolate microporosity correctly? That's the question here. I want microporous space. And I claim that this approach worked pretty well, and then I isolated, you can see what I thresholded here in red as microporosity. But feel free to try things out and maybe go in 2 steps or 1 step or like and see what you already have to do. Okay. So that's step 1, step 2. So try 25, 10, 5 or something else, or and try to isolate microporosity. And 3, try to correct that image. See whether that normalized contrast, local contrast, does that work with this image? Or some combination of filters. Some other filters? Technically, median is not going to do well. My biggest problem is that otherwise it's clean image. So median will help a little. Right? But it's overall a clean image. I have not much, we didn't, yeah, I'm looking at the segmented and claiming it's overall clean. So some of it will even out here. So median will help a little. But I don't know that it's going to help me with the fact that I don't have the same grayscale value for pore space here and the same grayscale. Here it's nearly black. Here it's gray. And that's what I need to correct for. So you're also filtering the success depends on whether you're correcting what problem you actually have.
And normalized local context
It's one of the filters we use for that rice image. Try if it works. Okay. So you play with that, and I will be right back to see the results. I just need to pick up something. How's it going? So it basically goes in local contrast. So let's try normalizing. So it will have a block that it's processing on. And within that, it's going to try to look for standard deviation between the two groups and separate them statistically. And then it's going to attempt to normalize things from this, like this 40 cube or 40 square in this case, to somewhere in the middle of the image. That can be pretty intense, and there's no good guess of what will work. And you will also see then when it does this averaging, you will see that width of 40 going outside of the image. And the rest is sort of a trial and error. So you can see this is basically your width of 40. Right? Now, in that process, I see that I have succeeded in normalizing this versus that. So let's look at the pore space. Let me actually escape. So pore space here, the value was 0. And here it's 0 because that's the outside. So this was artificially processed. But here it's not. Here it's nearly 58. And that's what I need to kind of even out. I need pore space to be close to the same value everywhere in the image, right? And then I have, the problem is that I have a microporosity here around 160, but then I also have some, and my beads are supposed to be very bright. They're close to 250, 240, right? But then if I have some beads, where's the one? This is 180, which is kind of dangerously close to this 153, right? Or it's closer to it than it is to 140. And that's part of the problem that I have in this image. And let's try to now see. So I pointed out, so this is also, there's no robust procedure when you are playing with things, but I tend to anchor on 5 or 6 features that are important and like look at their values and look what happens and whether I'm happy. Because there's no, every image comes in different and with different type of noise. So there's no telling what's going to work the best in terms of parameters. Parameters are always trial and error, whether it's filtering or segmentation. Does that make sense? All right, so I will actually do a very small median filtering. Where are my filters? Median. Literally 1 point just to get rid of some of these small variations with an image. So that shouldn't change the image terribly, but it should even out some of these issues. Okay, now process, let's try. So I'm gonna do plugins, analyze histogram. So this is the histogram that shows me that there's no 3 clear groups, and there should be, or I'm hoping for 3 clear groups. Let's see if I can fix that. Okay. So now I have about 100 or 98 or 100-ish for pore space here, and 188 or 100-ish. So pore space is pretty much okay. The problem is that here it's still 30s. And my microporosity better be better than that. So 120, so I have some separation. Any other, this is microporosity right here, about 140, that's pretty good. And then this is 160, so they're a little lumped closer in the process. But let's see how histogram looks like. Okay. So this these are my solids. Hopefully, well, so basically to separate pore space from the microporosity, I gotta separate this from that. It's not terrible, actually. It's better than this, right? Though that there seems to be some sort of local damage done too. In that normalization process. So now, can we play with parameters? Does a bigger box help? Let me read in the image again. So I'm going to leave this as a 1. But oh yeah, there's just, and that's this part of the trial and error. And there's no, other than you somehow verifying at the end that you were happy. So you need to have an objective and try to measure. What would be good to have is, what is something, do you have a measurement? So this is an experiment. I don't have that data, but technically I should have a measure of how many beads went in. That's max values in the experimental lab. Now I don't have that number, but that would be a good thing to verify against. Can you get close to that? Other than that, it's you identifying 5 portions of the image that you're monitoring. Okay, so let's try one more normalization. So it's good to create a table and again visually compare histograms, whether you're getting the contrast you need. What do we want to do? Maybe increase block rate or block radius. Maybe it's fine, but do smaller. What does smaller deviation do? It's pretty low though. Oh, this is the result. Well, that's weird. That won't work. That left too much noise on. So small deviation, standard deviation is too small, then you're going to pick up differences and start evening out things between local noise peaks. Right? That's what happened here. You're starting to equalize local noise. And that's your sort of secondary peak. So either maybe possibly go and blur the image a little further before you do this, right? Or don't do this. So that's this. So there's a workflow. So what you're developing here, technically, as you're trying things out, is a workflow. There's no strict proof because you don't always have the ground truth to test all of the parts. So you optimize it with the information that you have at time. And just keep at the back of the mind that you can develop this for this type of image coming from a particular scanner. This was image downstairs. And then basically, so certain parameters in mind, knowing that like later on, that might not work. One thing that is not always done in porous media consistently, and that's partly because we don't know it offhand. So here we know glass bead size. You know the resolution. So when you're normalizing things with these blocks of 40, there's 40 pixels. But kind of bear in mind what is it relative to in terms of your either grain size or pore size. So that you know when you say 40, that in this image means a few grains. Right? So try to these windows of averaging for median filtering and all those, always stay well below the kind of a dominant feature you're actually looking at, like grains or pores. So your noise should be below that, so to speak. So don't even out. If you pass the pore size or grain size, you're going to start smearing everything that you have, all the main features of it. So that's the thing. It's a trial and error, but like for your guidance, kind of have in mind how many grains do I have in this little sample, whatever it is that I'm looking at. So that's the thing. And here again, we started equalizing in noise. So don't do that. So it's too small, the variation doesn't work. Don't save. And I'm going to open another one and try something bigger. Maybe it works. Maybe standard deviation that is slightly bigger will work better. Let's give it a shot. Plugins. No. So let's go with 5. I don't know. Let's look at the histogram. So it seems that I have also done pretty much the same thing. It's just they're just closer together, the existing peaks. Right? So I would still claim that this is probably easier to work with, okay? Because you have a little more spread. And one more last thing. Let's now try to increase that window to 50. Open recent. And normalize local contrast, run. 50. So that's increase of 25% in radius. Where's my other one? Let's try. It seems to me that this one's closer to. Why did it get bent? Okay. From the histogram standpoint, this is narrower, so it's better defined, but this cut between this and that would be hard, and that's the difficult part. So this is now maybe ready for statistical region merging. Shall we try? Any of these? This one? Let's do statistical region merging. So question is, can I claim that this is my microporosity, and is that done well? Let's see. Analyze. Oh. This is a 32-bit, so these are real values. That's 4 bytes. Those are real numbers. So we need to convert image type, and hopefully conversion will not really do much. Let's see whether the conversion, it's okay. It did not mess anything up. Like that rice got converted. Remember the image that you read in last time and it didn't work? Something in conversion didn't work. So it's not always, that's probably there was some compression too. Okay, so let's see whether if I do adjust histogram, I want to get this and that. No. 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 This normalization kind of killed it. So I'm again getting things from the outside that have too much. So in this case, normalization didn't work as a filter. Here there's too little of microporosity. I have definitely lost certain, like these here, and these bridges here. Uh-huh. But still a problem. So statistical region merging of the original for this image works a little better. With the understanding that I haven't tried a whole lot of filters. Right? But this is one that we talked about before. Yes? We can try, actually you can all try maybe normal means denoising. We're going to work with that one as well. So maybe that's the next one to try. But that's, again, it's a trial, and depending on the noise in the image, there might be issues fixing it. And specifically with beam hardening, that's a difficult one to fix. That is normal. So it's the best if it's actually done at the scanner before outputting the image and during the reconstruction. Okay. Our next. So did you try this step-by-step approach? 25, then 10, then 5? Did that work reasonably, or did you get this as a result? More or less, give or take. Okay. All right, let's try one more hard thing. So there is this intact coal thin fractures. It's actually from a project on a DigitalRocks portal. When I say DRP, it could be DigitalRocks Petrophysics, it could be DigitalRocks portal. It stands in for a lot of things. But DRP, I typically refer to the portal that way. So this is just a small subsample. These are actually pretty large images. And we have thin features in there. And let me first discuss. So you can play with filtering and segmenting it. Either way, it's going to be really hard to get these thinner features. And even though technically, in this particular image, all of these thin features are actually mineralized. This is probably calcite. Calcite pops up in the image because it's really denser than the coal. So even though they all are filled with the same thing, it's really hard to distinguish the small ones. And part of the problem is exemplified the best. This is from a paper from Dr. Ketchum. Dr. Ketchum, Richard Ketchum, he is the director of UTCT in geology. And he's been working with taking good images for a long time. And particularly, he's been looking at the quality of images and how do you actually threshold when you have very thin features and how do you find them. So this is the test he did. He literally cut a sample, very simple planar fracture, and then just looked at the contrast you get different sizes of the cut. So in this case, aperture is 50 microns, so pretty close to the resolution of the image itself. I'm not sure what the resolution was, but this is microtomography. Pixel size is 50. Okay. Then 71, then 190. So when you actually look at the numbers, CT numbers, across this line, red line, you will see that the jump between the values is smeared. And that will also, so this is the same thing, it's air between two pieces of rock. Okay? CT value of air and CT value of rock doesn't really change. But in the image, so it's most likely that your CT value of air, well, not most likely, it's 1,000, and the rock is 3,000. However, when they're too close, there's so much smearing that your air appears to be 2,700. And the smaller the feature, the worse it is. So there's a disproportionate effect on this. If you think about it, this is basically convolving a Gaussian with a signal that is a square signal and should be a square signal of width 15 microns, 71 micron, 190 micron, right? That's what I want to see. And here I'm sub-resolution here. And this mixing, so my voxel or pixel size, voxel size is 50 micron, and fracture is somewhere inside. So you get a partial volume. This is also obvious partial volume effect. Okay? However, for 190, I should have at least 2 or 3, at least 2 pixels within the fractures, if not 3. Fracture is pixel is 50 micron, okay? 150 is less than 190, so I should have at least 3. But I'm gonna get that my value is somewhere at 1100 instead of 1000. It appears that air is 1100. Now, if I'm gonna segment this with thresholding, and I have features of all of these sizes in my image, I cannot get them all in a single threshold. This one I'm going to likely completely lose. I see it, but it's not, I don't have enough resolution to pick it up. But I would like to pick up all of the ones that I have resolution for, and not misidentify them as something else. Now, this is simple in the sense that I have rock and I have air. That's it. But what if my rock had multiple constituents, and somewhere in their CT value close to what's appearing here in this image, or near 2,000, right? So small features are disproportionately harder to identify. And that's because of the correlation that happens. With that in mind, try to play with this. Whether you can, what can you get? From Histogram, I see I don't have a lot of these white stuff, like everything is dominated by this gray phase. Try filtering it, but I would in this case focus on filtering just like with median for now. And then try different segmentation thresholds to convince yourself of the problem. And I'm going to in parallel work with the segmentation I want to try. Hmm. Just remember the time that you can work with a little subset, it's easier for you to see. As long as that subset is just like the one that identified. It's create the image outside. Image type. Image type. It converts to infinite. Image type. Yeah. Did you see anything? You can see that it tells you here. But that may be identified outside somehow. These algorithms work. You can. For playing right now, it doesn't matter. That's why I actually kind of identified everything in one subset like this. You have everything that you need to identify. So it's pretty good idea. This thing that I did, I just resized to a piece that seems to have all the sizes in there to play with. It doesn't matter that, well, if you have uneven contrast in the image, that doesn't mean that you sampled everything. But for this exercise, this is actually enough to look at. The large one is potentially hard to spot, especially if you're doing the visual. Oh. Wow. So something else to play with in your spare time. Has everybody tried with the thin features? Are you reasonably happy with your segmentation? No? Welcome to the thin features. Same thing happens with other small stuff. Bubbles. So you have foam that has wide range of bubbles. There is a solid foam image of the DigitalRocks portal that actually was related to a paper that was trying to identify solid foam bubbles from a CT image, and again, you disproportionately neglect small ones. Right? Bugs. Some of them will be below resolution, some of them will be large resolution, and fractures always run on all sizes, no matter what. And that we're just sampling, you know, a small sample. Fractures run to the kilometer size. And so do bugs. I mean, they're just on large scale, they're called caves. But it's the same type of feature. Anyway, another thing to play with, and let's try maybe this thin features. So you played with it and you got frustrated. Let's try to find another option. So there's something called VCA trainable segmentation. I was actually trying it out in 3D. So essentially what I did, like when you start VCA, let's start another, I'm going to open, well, let's do that. I'll open that RISE quickly, because I think in RISE it works really well. So this was that uneven illumination. So here, I have two things that are actually pretty clear, but there's only two. And it's something that is really homogeneous, like rice. So let's now type in and search for VECA, W-E-K-A. And just do the regular trainable VECA segmentation. These trainable things, this is your machine learning at work. These trainable things, I didn't go into details of the papers, but basically you tell it what the classes are. And what this image does in settings, what it calls features or training features during training, it passes to the training not just the image, but also these filtered versions of that image. Gaussian blur, Hessian membrane projections, I'm not sure what membrane projections are, zonal filter, and difference of Gaussians. I'd say in this particular case, possibly if you want to add something you like, you're very welcome to. So I'll add anisotropic diffusion because that's what we mentioned in class. And median because that's one of my favorite filters. Zonal filter actually does differences pretty well. So think about edges. And we do want edges, so you possibly want to put zonal in there. I'm not sure that these two, Gaussian blur is typically not a good idea for images, but I'm going to leave it there. Okay. So those are my settings. And basically, those are the features that it's going to take into consideration. And then I walk around the image and basically label, this is going to be my class 1, so background, and give it a couple of samples. And in this particular image, knowing that I have uneven illumination here and here, right? It's important to pick both and to sample both. Oops. Can I undo? I don't know how do I undo. Control. I went into RISE here. Okay, good. So this is all class 1. So I do have decent number of samples. Hopefully that will be enough. The problem is you don't know how many samples are enough. Yeah. And second class is my RISE. So again, make sure to try. So try with me. Try something different from me, just for kicks. Try to sample. Somebody tried labeling only upper portion of the image with background. And let's see whether that works. Okay. More rice. Okay. I'm going to say train. Not terrible. Better than threshold. Here a little smaller. So one could basically go and retrain. But given the sparse number of traces and not so many pixels that actually took into consideration, this is pretty good. The problem is selection of the points. So when you're dealing, and in biology you often are, if you're just looking at one, these work really well for biological samples. For one, shapes in biology are way nicer than in geology. So it's easier to basically look for something, but it requires clicking. And the major problem in these is automated selection of where to start from. But with the first test, given that you can train on a sample, you can process image quite well. I tried 3D, and again, with not too many. These are the options I gave it. I gave it the red one. This you can see where I sampled. I gave it green stuff, this line, and you can do the trace in any shape you'd like. This, and then clay. Clay I sampled only here. And here's the result in 3D. Here, too much of it got as clay, so I probably need to sample way more and across multiple images, sections. And I got that all of my grains are lined with clay, and that's the problem with the sharp edges or the lack thereof in X-ray. So this is a simulated edge. So all of the edges got identified as intermediate things, and that's a problem. So it's nice, but it needs a little bit of work. Yeah, so maybe if I'm careful to go around the edge, at least in one sample, and say this is not clay, this is clay. And then hopefully it learns that it's clay. But that's not on this plane. So it has quite a bit of possibility. It's pretty impressive that based on those selections, it actually did a really pretty smooth job. Okay. This is also where playing with different filters does matter. Which filters are important? Is there a filter that kind of picks up what I need? So those are certain things to think about. There is no free lunch with segmentation. You have to work with it a lot. But there are options out there, possibly too many. Okay, playing with all of the options. So Javier Santos in my group, he's been playing with deep learning, where you again figuring out which filters to give to actually predict flow. And we're going to have sort of a lecture on that once we go through the flow part. The key thing was basically 6 months to tune which filters or which input is features, they're called features in trading. You need to get to the crucial neural network for it to do the quality result. That's an outstanding. That's where the art comes in. So, all right. I see you next time. Happy spring break. For your happy spring break, I'm going to assign a homework sometime today or tomorrow. But basically, it's going to be due on Wednesday after the spring break. Okay? Because I don't want you to be bored during spring break. That would just be a terrible idea. Idle minds, not a good